Hello and good morning, friends. Today I want to talk to you about a few of the dangers that you can run into when you have an effluent filter installed on your septic system, right? So let's kind of get into a little bit of what is an effluent filter. So on a septic tank, right, you're going to have a big box. The big box is what collects all of the solids from the house, separates them, and then allows the liquids to transit on into the absorption system. Well, in this big concrete box, there's going to be a thing called a baffle, right? Now, this baffle will come in a variety of shapes and sizes, but generally, if you're going to have an effluent filter, that baffle is going to be made of PVC, and that baffle is basically going to be a little sanitary tee that you slide the filter into, all right? Generally, a baffle without the filter, its sole purpose is to prevent the scum, which is the floating stuff in the tank, from getting out of the tank and into the absorption system. Now, with an effluent filter, what that is basically a little inert screen. They come in a variety of shapes and sizes, but usually most of them will have some iteration of a gasket, and then there'll be some kind of slatted device to basically keep any of the debris that's in the tank, right? So what'll happen is, as the water goes in, a little bit of debris will be there. It'll go up through the baffle, which will hit the screen. The slats in that screen will capture the floating particulates, and then the semi-clean water will go into the absorption system, right? Now, as these filters work, they're going to clog up. That's what they're supposed to do. Generally, most manufacturers suggest cleaning those filters once every 3 years. But I would argue in practice, you got to do it every six months to a year. And you need to make sure you have good access on your septic system. In our area, you're required by the counties, if you install one, you have to tell the county, hey, I put an effluent filter at this date, and you have to send them a photo of the access type. So that way that becomes public record for everybody else who might potentially think, I don't know what's going on at this house. They keep complaining of a backup. I haven't figured out why it's backing up. That way they can say, oh crap, somebody installed an effluent filter, and that filter hasn't been cleaned in 15 years. I've had that happen before. It hasn't been cleaned in 15 years. Of course it's backing up, right? So you got to clean the filter regularly. I would generally say every 6 to 12 months is usually the most kind of sweet spot for cleaning it. Most homeowners in our area, they opt to just clean it themselves. All you do is just go in, pull it out, spray it down for 5 minutes, put it back in the hole, you're done. Doesn't take hardly any time at all. Some people don't want to do that and they hire people. That's perfectly fine too. If you're not comfortable doing a service on your home, if you don't feel like doing a service on your home, hire somebody. People hire landscapers all the time, right? Nothing's wrong with that. So let's talk about more of what can go wrong with effluent filters, right? So these filters, like I said, come in a variety of shapes and sizes. Now, there's two different routes you can go. You can go residential or commercial, depending on what the application type is going to be, all right? So most commonly, my line of work is going to be residential. I do some commercial every now and again, but I would say 99.9% of my job is residential. So these filters, just about every single brand, doesn't really matter. Every single residential house can support those filters, right? Or those filters can support just about any residential house. There's not a whole lot of goofy variance that comes up with them. So most commonly, most of these filters will be good for about 900 gallons of water in an hour, right? So as long as you're not exceeding that, you're usually going to be just fine. But where you start running into problems is going to be in your commercial applications, right? And so you might be thinking, well, what could possibly go wrong with an effluent filter? It just get clogged up, right? So if you're running too much water, too dense of solids, if you're not cleaning it regularly enough, the filter will clog, right? Its sole job is to prevent debris from reaching the absorption system. So it will clog if you don't clean it. Now, the good part about this is if it does clog, that's actually a good thing, right? All that debris that would have reached the absorption system, which would have caused damage or premature failure, you've stopped by having this filter. Now, unfortunately, if you don't clean it and it clogs, you got to run the risk of that stuff going all the way back to your house, potentially having sewage in your basement. And that's not a good time, right? So if you don't clean it, you're going to run into some problems. So it's very important to make sure that you clean it regularly and have somebody help you out with cleaning it. But the other problem that you can run into is if you get it stuck. Well, let's just say that you go to clean it yourself. Most of them will have some kind of little handle that you grab onto. There should be very little to no resistance, but sometimes some of them will have a latching mechanism on the filter itself, right? So for example, Zabel filters, there's this little fin looking thing that plugs into the outlet line of the baffle. If you pull straight up on it, it's really hard to get it off because that thing's designed to keep it from falling out of the baffle. So all you have to do is you just rotate it 90 degrees and it pops right up. Now, if you don't know that, or if you don't look at it, right, while you're trying to pull it up, you run the risk of getting the handle broken, and now the filter's stuck in the baffle, all right? Most homeowners aren't equipped to address that problem. So if you do break it off, it can get kind of expensive and or ugly depending on how you break it and where and what condition the water level in the tank's at, right? So let's just say that this thing's already backed up and you're fishing around for the handle, you find it and you break it, and there's already a foot more sewage than there ought to be. Well, now you're gonna have to pump it down so they can actually see what they're working with to replace the baffle, since now that filter's stuck. Sometimes you can break the filter out of the baffle. It just kind of depends, right? Everything kind of breaks in weird ways, so it just kind of depends on how it breaks. I'm curious though, below, how many of you guys have effluent filters on your systems? Leave a comment for me, right? So if you're not taking care of it, if you pull on the handle too hard and you break it, now you're running into the problem of backups in the house and or inability to maintain it properly, which can cause a lot of problems, right? Generally, these filters are fairly inexpensive, of $50 to $100, depending on the style. You'll also see a lot of these effluent filters on the more advanced treatment systems, right? So we've already covered a little bit of other systems called BAT systems with Norweco, right? That stands for Best Available Technology. Norweco is just the brand, right? So we covered that a few days ago in another video. That particular filter is actually going to be about 5 foot tall and about 2 foot round. Those things are huge. Those still need to be cleaned basically once every 6 months, right? And they're giant compared to the Zabel filter that you'll usually see on most anaerobic basic septic systems. So all that said, I really think that these filters are great. There's evidence from the EPA, from universities, from health departments, even some of the local municipal counties in our area are requiring them on new installs. There's proof that these things work. They're very beneficial. If you don't have one, I would strongly recommend you talk to one of your contractors in the area, or do a little bit of homework and, Google it. It's not hard to install. Get one installed. They will help to save and extend the life of your drain fields. They're worth every penny. I hope that you found this informative. If you enjoy content like this, I have videos posted every day on the World of Well and Septic. Hit that like button, hit subscribe. Till next time, guys.